You look around the world today and it's easy to feel overwhelmed, right? With all the escalating chaos, the violence, the division. It can make you stop and ask a really simple but really profound question. What am I supposed to do? What is the right action to take? It's a question that hits you right where you live, and it's exactly what we're going to dig into.
And this wasn't just a random thought. This very question was the jumping-off point for a 1979 seminar by the philosopher Krishnamurti. Now, he didn't offer some simple 10-step guide or an easy answer. Instead, he took people on a deep dive, an inquiry into the very nature of the problem itself. And that's the path we're going to follow in this explainer.
All right, so first things first, we have to look at our relationship with this messy, disorderly world. Is it just something happening out there, totally separate from us?
So, the very first premise here is, it's a challenging one. Krishnamurti's argument is that the world we see, all the greed, the competition, the terror, it isn't some outside force that's happening to us. Nope, we made it. And now, after building it, we're caught in the very trap we designed, often feeling like victims of a system that, we actually created.
This idea leads to a really profound and, honestly, a kind of mind-bending turn in the logic. If we created the world's disorder, what on earth does that say about what's going on inside our own heads? This is where it gets really interesting.
And this, right here, this is the heart of the whole argument. He's saying that the line we normally draw between me on the inside and the world on the outside is basically an illusion. That the psychological chaos out there is just a direct reflection of the chaos in here. It's a radical idea.
To make this a little more real, Krishnamurti uses this powerful image. He says to think of our consciousness as a bundle. It's this collection of literally everything we carry around inside us. Our traditions, our fears, our anxieties, our flashes of violence. This isn't some abstract concept. It's the actual stuff that makes up our day-to-day psychological life.
And boom, that's how the connection gets made. See, if my consciousness is this bundle, and yours is this bundle, and pretty much everyone is carrying around a similar bundle of psychological stuff, then all of our consciousnesses put together is the world. The world's problems are just our problems writ large.
So you might be thinking, okay, if the problem is in my consciousness, why can't I just fix it? Well, Krishnamurti points to this fundamental illusion, this deep-seated conflict in how we see ourselves that just keeps the whole cycle going.
We pretty much all operate as if there are two separate things going on inside us. First, you've got the observer. That's the me, the thinker, the little guy in your head who's always watching and judging. And then you have everything that's being observed, that messy bundle of thoughts, feelings, and impulses, the anger, the anxiety, the fear. We create this division between the me who's watching and the thing being watched.
And because we see this split, we're in a constant, never-ending battle with ourselves. The observer is always trying to do something to the observed. We try to control our anger, shape our thoughts, suppress our anxiety, or just run for the hills. It's exhausting, and let's be honest, it never really works.
And this is the absolute game changer of a question. What if this entire internal war is based on a completely false premise? What if the watcher isn't actually separate from what's being watched? And here it is, the key insight. The thinker is the thought. The one feeling the anger is the anger. He's saying there isn't some separate me looking at the bundle of thoughts and feelings. The me is the bundle. The observer and the observed are the exact same thing. The implication of this is just enormous. When you truly see that this division is an illusion, the entire internal war just stops. There's nothing to control anymore, nothing to suppress. There's just the seeing of what is. All that energy we waste fighting ourselves is suddenly free.
But this is where things get really crucial. This is maybe the most important distinction in this entire inquiry, because it's one thing to understand this stuff as a cool idea, and it's a whole other thing to realize it as a living reality.
So this is the challenge Krishnamurti puts out there, and the one I'm putting to you now. Are you just kind of nodding along thinking, that's a neat philosophical concept? Is it just a new idea you can add to your collection? Because the alternative is to be in actual contact with it as a fact, as real to you as the feeling of your own breath. Not just thinking about it, but seeing it, feeling it as a living reality from moment to moment. As one of the participants in that seminar perfectly put it, this is the trap we all fall into. We wrestle with the idea that the observer is the observed, turning it into yet another mental problem to solve. And that wrestling, that intellectual struggle, that is the conflict we're trying to end.
Okay, so with all of that as our foundation, we can finally circle all the way back to our original question. In a world that's on fire, what is the right thing to do?
The answer isn't a checklist of actions. It's a state of being that comes from a profound realization, a really intense, non-intellectual awareness that you are not separate, that your consciousness is human consciousness, that on a psychological level, you are humanity.
Just think about that for a second. If you aren't just a separate little person looking out for number one, but you are intrinsically, deeply connected to everyone and everything, what happens to your perspective? What naturally flows out of that state?
This is the answer that comes out of the inquiry, not as some moral rule you have to follow, but as a natural, unavoidable consequence. When you realize you are the world, and the world's suffering is your suffering, the only possible response is this deep, boundless compassion. And from that state, a totally different kind of action is born.
And so we have to end where it all begins, with the question turned right back to you. This whole explainer, it isn't about giving you an answer to believe in. It's about pointing to an investigation you can make for yourself. The final question then is this: are you wrestling with these words as just another idea? Or can you, right now, be in contact with the reality of it? The answer to what is right action, it begins right there.